In this video, I'm going to talk about how I went from a relatively average swimmer to a relatively decent swimmer in a pretty short frame of time. I get asked more and more frequently now how I've gone from being a bit of a crappy swimmer to actually being pretty competitive in quite a short time frame, and I thought I'd dedicate this video towards that because the swimming for triathletes more often than not is quite a frustrating sport. You see quite slow development and it can just be really irritating when you're not progressing as much as you'd like to see, especially when you're comparing it to your bike or your run. Well, actually, for me, especially in the last 6 months, it's probably been the sport that I've seen the most progression in. So I thought I'd talk to you guys about that today and hopefully give you some ideas of what you can do in your own training. So I guess to start with, we probably need a little bit of context here, otherwise this doesn't really make sense whatsoever. We will go back in time to 2017. I know I said a short time frame, but I think it's a good idea to give you overall context of the times I was putting out quite a few years ago compared to now and the positions and such. So we're going to go through this together. In 2017, I raced Weymouth 70.3 and I did a time of 27 minutes and 20 seconds. Now, for a lot of people, that's a very, very good swim time. And this is why I'm kind of saying average swim time. That's still a good swim time. That's a very competitive age group swim time. However, when you take it into the context of I wanted to go for my pro license and I'm now racing professional, that's nowhere near scratch of where it needs to be. Now, if we move on to Staffordshire 70.3 2018, I did a 26.41. In Staffordshire 2019, I did a 24.59. So those 3 times from quite a few years ago have incrementally come down, which is brilliant. We'll then take out this chunk in the middle, which is COVID, because we'll throw that away and we'll forget about that. And then we'll go into this year and the times that I've put out this year. Fast forward to 2022, in 70.3 Mallorca, I did a 23 minute and 5 second. In 70.3 Swansea, I did a 23 minute and 11 second. In 70.3 Warsaw, I did a 21 minute and 59 second. And just as a bit of fun, I'll put it in there. This is my Ironman Wales race. I did a 48.24. Now, let's try and make sense of all those numbers because really on their own, they don't necessarily make sense. There is that gradual decrease in time across the board, which is fantastic to see, obviously. But there's more than that, actually. And what you'll see, even in the last 6 months, is there's been big improvements, even if the times are slightly off. Now, like I mentioned, you have to take these times with a pinch of salt because the courses may be slightly off. In the sea, you're going to have generally a little bit more chop, some current, some tide, everything like that. The people around you, how technical the swim course is. So there's a lot to think about. However, if we dive a little bit deeper into this, we can see that throughout the year, I get closer and closer to the front of the race, which is probably a better signal of improvement in my swim. So as you can see, 70.3 Mallorca, I was 19th out of the swim. So it's still a good swim, it's still a fast swim, but I was 19th out of that race, and that was not good, especially in the pro field. There was a lot of guys out in front of me, and that just didn't set me up for a very good day. If we move on to Swansea, I was 9th pro out of the swim, so a lot closer to the front of the race. So the swim time is actually, you can see it's a little bit slower, but actually I'm closer to the front of the race, so I would argue that's a better swim. Warsaw, the same thing. I would argue that actually this swim I think is a little bit short, but don't tell anyone. But I'm near the front of the race. I'm 8th pro out of the water. I was in the front pack. That's really, really important. That shows that my swim skills have improved massively. And as we go on to Ironman Wales, I was 2nd out of the swim. So as you can see, the swim times have come gradually down, but also my positioning within each swim has got closer and closer and closer to the front of the race. And that's been a massive, massive improvement of mine, and which I've seen only recently in the last 6 months or so, how I've developed that. And I want to talk through the certain things that I've implemented in my training that have meant that I've got closer and closer to the front of the race. So we've got the context there, we've got my old swim times, my this year's swim times, and we've seen really big improvements even just this season in my swim, getting closer and closer to the front of the race and getting faster, faster times. How exactly have I done that? Well, earlier this year I made a really big life change. I moved away from Bath, which is where I've been training for really quite a considerable amount of time, the last 4 or 5 years of my life, really. And I moved down to North Devon. This is for various reasons. We don't need to go into that. But I was really nervous about that move because Training at Bath University, the facilities are fantastic. I was training with a squad there, and there's that squad dynamic, and you've got other people to train with. Wasn't really necessarily working for me, and like I said, I moved due to various reasons, and I was quite concerned about moving down to Devon because I didn't know how that was gonna work, and I was really concerned that my swim time was just gonna plummet completely. But actually, it was the exact opposite, and it was the best decision I could have possibly made for not only my swim improvement, but my swim, bike and run improvement. This year has seen massive improvements, and I think it's all down to that really positive move that I made away from a squad dynamic. Now, I was then able to fully dictate what I was going to do, when I was going to do it, and how I was going to do it. And I could take my training into my own hands, which I think is really important. And that helped me progress far quicker than being a part of a squad where there's a lot of other things going on and it just adds a little bit of confusion and there's too much ego going on perhaps. Now, I'm very lucky where I get to train with one of my good friends, Jack Hutchins, who's a fellow pro triathlete. We've had a discussion with the local pool. We get some swim, we get some lane times to ourselves. So that's fantastic. That helps out massively. But I think just being on your own terms and training on your own terms, I think is really important. So, it might be worth to think. I think training with a squad, it does have pros, but it does sometimes have cons. And sometimes it's worth taking a step away from things and fully being able to immerse yourself in your own training and do things for you rather than for other people. That sounds a little bit selfish. I didn't mean it to come across like that. You might be thinking, what kind of sessions have I been doing? And how have I been training? And how have I seen these big improvements? Have I been doing anything specific? Have I been doing huge 6 to 8K swim sessions? Have I been really strict with exactly what I've been doing each week, each day of the week, each month, whatever it is? Actually, I think you'll be really surprised. Me and Jack have a very simple way of training, especially in the swim. I think it's because we're just quite simple people. We get in, we make it up, and there you go. That's how we swim. Now, I feel like a lot of people won't believe me saying that, so I'm going to get Jack involved with this video to chat about that a little bit further, how we plan our swims, so that hopefully you actually believe us. How do we structure our swims? It's pretty rogue, isn't it? Like, people probably won't people probably won't believe me when I say it, so I'll let you say it.
Well, we usually have like a couple of quality sessions that we want to kind of do, don't we? Yeah. But if we're in the water 5-6 times, that means that maybe 2/3 of them we're kind of just turning up and just kind of wanting to get in some volume. So we usually go, I'll do a K and kind of choose what we do for a kilometre. Yeah. You do a K and choose what we do for a kilometre.
It's literally like
alternate that.
We'll get in. We'll stand on the side of the water. We'll be like, cool, you feeling pretty tired? Yeah, feeling pretty tired. All right, we'll go easy today. We'll always do a K warm up, like whatever it is, choice. Yeah. And then we'll decide a K each. Generally, that's all our swimming. Like, obviously, quality sets and stuff mixed in, but that's it. Like, you don't need to be super strict with it, do you?
No,
it's just getting the time in.
Listening to the body as well.
Yeah.
In the pool is so important.
Yeah.
It's like, if you're fatigued, it's almost you're just wasting your time.
Yeah. There's almost no point.
Yeah. So well, basically, I'll say when Harry first moved down, he was like
a potato.
They're a bit slower than me. Like, you would never really lead out any sessions, would you? And then I
don't really do that now, to be honest.
But then I had a really good training block and I progressed loads in my swimming. So, and I know that from my times I was getting a lot faster. But Harry was actually somehow had even improved even more than me, because he was actually then like leading me out and we were kind of really close, weren't we? Like, so it's pretty cool to see like how much we've both come on really, but you've come on more than me, I'd say.
It shows it in racing as well. Like, we come out pretty much together all the time, don't we? So, like, and that's nice. We're like near the front of the race now as well. Which is ideal. So
hang on to Andy Hospital.
Yeah, we're coming for you, mate. All right, we're coming for you.
More years.
And I think, like Jack mentioned in that clip, it's really important to understand how you're feeling on a specific day and be adaptable. That's so important, whether you've got a coach or not. If you've got a coach, it's really important to keep verbal communication with them. Let them know how you feel on a specific day so they can adapt your training based on how you're feeling, so you can get the most out of yourself and out of the training. However, if you're self-coached or whatever it is, then I think it's really important to not be so strict with yourself on a specific plan. And I'm going to do this today and I have to do this today regardless. I've actually become very, very adaptable with my training. If I'm not feeling too good, I'll go to the pool with Jack and I'll be like, you know what, we were going to do a threshold set. Well, let's just do 3-4K, super chilled. We'll do a bit of technique work, whatever it is. And I think it's really important. As long as you get time in the water, it's not necessarily too important what you're specifically doing. Now, you do need a good amount of variety. You need to look at some technique work, some aerobic work, some strength work, some threshold work, some VO2 work. There's loads of things that you can work on. However, I think being adaptable to how you're feeling on the day and just really understanding your body is actually how I've seen really big improvements and how Jack's seen really big improvements this year as well. That actually goes on really nicely to my last point, which is slowing down. When I was training with the squad, it was almost like every time you're in the water, every time you're training with other people, it's a competition. And it just is irritating and it's frustrating and it winds me up so much. So I've got to the point now where I'm actually not a massive fan of training with other people, or I train with people who I can trust, to be honest with me, and people who can just slow things down a little bit. I think it's really, really important. I am actually not swimming as much as I was. When I was in Bath, I was swimming 25, 26k a week. I'm now swimming like 20, 22k a week. So it's still a good chunk of time in the water, but it's not as much and it's a lot slower. I'm taking my time with things. I'm only doing really like a few hard swims a week during the season. Everything else is super, super chilled. And I think that's really important as well, is to take your time and to not rush things. The last thing I'm going to do is a little bit of a plug towards Jack's video analysis. He helped out massively, actually. I got in the endless pool with him doing some video work for me, and it helped me really understand how I was swimming, what I looked like, and how I could improve. There are far more things that I need to improve on, that's for sure, and I look forward to getting back in the endless pool with him to see if I've actually improved at all or not. So, if you're interested in getting some video work done, drop a comment in the comment section below. Let me know if you're interested. I can get you in contact with Jack because it will help out massively. Swimming is a very technique heavy sport, and if you can nail your technique over the winter, man, you'll be a completely different beast next year, which is what it's all about. So anyway, I hope all of you enjoyed that video. I hope you're enjoying your winter training so far. Actually, it's kind of autumn, but we're going into winter training. I hope you're going to enjoy it, and I look forward to seeing a lot of you very soon.